She smirked at the judge until the DNA test destroyed everything. I never imagined my life would end up in a courtroom, accused of abandoning a child that wasn't even mine, by the woman I once promised to spend forever with. But here we are. Lena and I were married for 5 years. Looking back, I realize now that to her, I wasn't a husband. I was a paycheck, a steady stream of income in human form. The first couple of years, sure, they were okay. We laughed, we traveled, we even talked about the future. But soon the cracks started showing. She had expensive tastes, designer handbags, spa weekends, spontaneous shopping sprees, but not a dollar to her name. There was always an excuse. She was focusing on herself, waiting for the right opportunity, planning her next big move. Meanwhile, I was paying for a future I was no longer part of. But never, not in my worst nightmares, did I think she'd try to trap me into supporting a child that wasn't mine. 2 years after our divorce, I got a letter in the mail. It was a court summons, child support. I remember standing in my kitchen, holding that paper, thinking it had to be a mistake. We never had children. That was one of the biggest fights we had during our marriage. Lena always said she wasn't ready, but suddenly she was claiming we had a 1-year-old son. I stared at the page, confused, angry, and honestly a little scared. The timeline didn't make sense. None of it did. So I called Marcus, my lawyer, and sent him the papers. A few hours later, he called me back. "It's real," he said. "She filed an official claim. She's saying you abandoned her and your baby." I was speechless. "She's betting on you staying silent," Marcus added. "If you don't fight this fast, the court could rule you the legal father, even if you're not the biological one." That hit me like a ton of bricks. I had no idea that was even possible. Apparently, in some states, if you don't dispute paternity in time, the system assumes you agree, and that's it. You're on the hook. Even if DNA later proves otherwise. Lena wasn't just lying, she had a plan, a cold, calculated plan. She filed with no evidence, Marcus said, no DNA, no birth certificate with your name. She's hoping you panic and pay, or that you miss a deadline and default. "She's smart," I muttered. "Yeah," Marcus replied, "but not smarter than the law." We filed for a court-ordered DNA test immediately. Weeks later, we were in court. Lena walked in like a movie character, soft makeup, modest dress, eyes full of innocent sadness. She looked like the image of a heartbroken mother just trying to do her best. But underneath it all, she was all performance, no shame. And when she saw me sitting at that table with my lawyer, ready to fight, she smirked. She smirked. Her lawyer stood up and gave a passionate speech about how I had abandoned a vulnerable mother and child, how Lena had struggled alone while I lived my life without a care. I wanted to laugh. The acting was unbelievable. Then Lena looked right at me and gave me that little smirk again, like she already knew she'd won. But Marcus was ready. "Your Honor, we formally dispute paternity and request DNA testing before any financial orders are considered." Lena's lawyer objected immediately. "That's unnecessary," he insisted. "Mr. Carter was with my client during the time of conception." The judge raised an eyebrow. "If she's confident in paternity, then the test should confirm it. I see no reason to deny the request." For the first time, Lena's face cracked. She whispered something to her lawyer, and he whispered back. She didn't protest again. The judge granted the test, but Lena didn't seem worried. That should have been a red flag. After the hearing, something still didn't sit right with me. She was too calm, too calculated. So Marcus and I did some digging. That's when we found him, Daniel Vaugh. Lena had been receiving monthly payments from him, regular deposits, steady amounts. We cross-referenced the dates and guessed the truth. She had already claimed someone else was the father. "Wait," I asked. "She was getting child support from him?" Marcus nodded. Yeah, until 6 months ago. That's when the payments stopped. And that's when she came after me. 2 weeks later, the DNA test results came back. 0.0% probability. I wasn't the father. I never had been. I expected Lena to freak out, to scream, to deny, to storm out. She didn't. She just shook her head and muttered, the test must have been mixed up. Marcus scoffed. Your Honor, we moved to dismiss immediately. But Lena's lawyer wasn't done. We request a second test. Mistakes happen. My client stands by her claim. The judge wasn't buying it. This was a court-ordered test processed through the proper chain of custody. There's no basis for a second. That's when Marcus dropped the bomb. We request that the court investigate whether another man has been named as the legal father or has previously provided support, specifically someone named Daniel Vaugh. Lena went still. Her lawyer hesitated. They were scrambling now. The judge turned to Lena. Ms. Vaugh, was another man acknowledged as the child's father? She didn't respond, but it didn't matter. Marcus had already uncovered enough. The court ordered another DNA test, this time for Daniel. Lena didn't even blink, but for the first time, I saw a flicker of panic behind her eyes, and then she disappeared. No social media update, no public appearances, no calls, but she wasn't done. Days before the second court date, Lena showed up on Daniel's doorstep. She cried, she pleaded. Please, she said, don't do the test. Think about the baby. Think about our future. When that didn't work, she got angry. She screamed at him, told him he was abandoning her, said he had promised to be there forever. But Daniel had had enough. And then she pulled her final card. She told him she was pregnant. Again, he called me. Man, she showed me a pregnancy test. A photo, not the real thing. She says she's having my baby. I didn't even have to think. Tell her to prove it. Medical records. Anything. Don't fall for it. He agreed. We went back to court. Daniel had taken the DNA test. We were both there, ready. Lena walked in, head held high. She looked confident. Too confident. She's planning something, Marcus muttered. Before the judge could even speak, Lena stood. Your Honor, she said, her voice shaking with faux emotion, I'm pregnant again. I wasn't going to say anything, but I think it's important. I'll need support. The judge didn't flinch. Ms. Vaugh, we are here today for the first child. Any new claims will be handled separately. Let's proceed with the DNA results. The courtroom went silent. The judge opened the envelope. Mr. Vaugh, you are not the father. Lena's face collapsed. Her smirk was gone. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Daniel sighed in relief. I leaned back in my chair, watching her carefully. This was the moment she realized the game was over. She tried one last outburst. This is wrong. The tests are wrong. Someone tampered with them. Are you accusing the court of falsifying evidence? The judge asked, voice cold. She went silent. Then in desperation, she turned to Daniel. You know he's yours. We were together. He looks like you. Please. Daniel shook his head. I don't know what's worse, he said, that you lied to me, or that you dragged me into this without even knowing who the real father is. Lena lost it. This isn't fair. They can't just walk away from this. Someone's lying. We need another test. The judge slammed his gavel. Enough, Ms. Vaugh. You knowingly filed false claims. You attempted to manipulate the legal system. You've caused emotional and financial harm to two men. This court finds your actions to be a blatant abuse of justice. Then Marcus stood. Your Honor, we move for sanctions, full reimbursement of legal fees, and we request this case be referred to the district attorney for fraud. Lena gasped. No, please, I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I thought Nathan was the father. And when he wasn't, I panicked. I was just trying to take care of my son. The judge wasn't moved. If you had come here in honesty, seeking clarity, this would be a different story. But you weaponized the court system. That is not a mistake. That is fraud. Lena broke. Please, she whispered. I have nothing left. And I believed her. For the first time, I truly did, because now she really had nothing. No father for her child, no financial support, and real criminal charges hanging over her head. The judge looked at me and Daniel. Do either of you wish to pursue civil action? Daniel folded his arms. Absolutely, I want every cent back. I nodded. Just cover my legal fees. That's enough for me. The judge ruled in our favor, ordered reimbursement, sanctions, and sent the case to the district attorney for review. Lena sat frozen, unable to process what had just happened. The gavel fell one final time. Court adjourned. Daniel walked out without a glance. I followed lighter than I had felt in years. Behind us, Lena finally crumbled, sobbing, alone in an empty courtroom. She had spent years playing the system, but in the end, the system played her. And me, I was finally done. You know, what strikes me most about this whole experience is how terrifyingly easy it is for someone to weaponize the legal system when they know how to manipulate it. Lena didn't just lie, she orchestrated a plan. She played the victim, rehearsed her part, and walked into that courtroom thinking she could bend the truth to her will. And honestly, if I hadn't acted quickly, she might have gotten away with it. This wasn't just a custody or paternity dispute. This was a reminder of how fragile reputations, finances, and peace of mind can be when you're up against someone who sees empathy as a weakness to exploit. What saved me wasn't luck. It was standing my ground, hiring the right people, and refusing to let a lie define the rest of my life. At the end of the day, truth doesn't scream. It sits quietly and waits to be heard. If this story hit you hard or made you think, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Ever been falsely accused? Ever watched someone manipulate the system? I'd love to hear your take. Let's talk about it.